The prison. The prison. Everything had a name and it usually began with the. Why the prison though? Why do we call it the prison? And I don't even know who came up with these names. That's how we referred to it. But the prison was, I guess because it had two levels. It had kind of a base level and an upper level. So two levels and like I guess a catwalk on the outside and these rooms. It just, to us, it looked like a prison. So it became entitled that, and for the rest of our time, we always called it the prison. So looking back now, if someone said, remember the prison? I would know exactly what he's talking about. Yes, of course I remember the prison. And it had an outer gate too, covered in barbed wire, fencing with like a little barbed wire on the top, so you weren't supposed to get into there. So instead of keeping people from breaking out, they were trying to keep people from breaking in, and mainly, of course, kids, because I don't know if adults really had any reason to go in there. But kids, yeah, you put a fence around something and make it enticing, kids are gonna go in, and go in we did. I think if you watch those episodes of Stranger Things, you see the kids going around on bicycles, and maybe they still do that today, but that certainly was us. Not even on 10 speeds on those old, I don't know, kids Huffy or Buffy, whatever they call them, the kids' bikes. And we rode all around town. Mostly it was leave home and go to the store and buy some candy or play video games and then just come back home again. But it meant crossing these great fields or going over these large tracts of land. And behind the house, I think it's covered in another episode, there was just this huge field, and you had to go across it. So there was a path, and you go across the middle, but with the bike, if you walked, you went across the middle. If you biked, you went on the dirt path. So we spent a lot of time over there around Jackson Avenue School. That was like the midway point, and then it would lead us to the stores to buy the aforementioned candy. And it was kind of nice because, yeah, it was like the backyard opened up, and once you left the backyard gate, you just were out in this huge field, and the creek was there, of course, and you just kept going, and you'd reach adventurous destinations. And as you get older, like, the destinations kept growing. As a kid, it's like your whole world ended at that backyard. But as you got older, it just once you went beyond that precipice, that ledge, you just went out into the great unknown. Although it became known, shortly after. So what had happened was I was, I think, riding the bikes with my friend Dave, and we were probably coming back from the store or something. We'd taken some smaller streets to kind of go, instead of going straight across, we went north and around. And next thing we know, there were houses, house, but then there was like this missing house. This place, like a kind of a lot of land where a house should have been. Could have been, but there was no house. And we happened to be like biking by, and I don't know if he discovered or I did, but we kind of went into the field where the house would have been. And this was the last row of houses before you got into this like unknown area. So coming around, we were like the tall grass, any place that there wasn't a house, if it was the right time of year, there'd be tall grass for growing. So kind of weave the bikes to the tall grass, and then it went down this ledge, kind of a big dip into a small canyon, very small. And then next thing we know, there's this large fence. So this was the discovery. This was the day kind of things changed. We discovered this new, the prison. That's when the prison was discovered. So took the bikes down there, came up to the fence, and luckily the tall grass made a difference because you were kind of like disguised or cloaked. You can get close to the fence. Kind of the grass kind of ended. There was a little bit of like a gravel path around it, but then you look in the fence, you just saw the prison. And what it was, well, what I could see, first of all, was the back of it, like these two levels, the building with the levels, but then there was a sort of I don't even know what it was, but it was, if you think of Zork, if you ever played Zork, I discovered that white house. Well, it wasn't a white house, but it was white. But it was just like that little icon there. That was kind of like what drew us, the beacon that drew us in. We saw that like, it was probably a loading dock, I guess it was, a little loading house. But it's like right beyond the fence, if you can get beyond the fence, you could get to this loading house. And that's, I guess, where it all began. Now the gate was not impassable, obviously, but we could have climbed over it. I mean, if you're kids, you're gonna figure out a way. So just bring some blankets or something to throw over the fencing. But there was a hole in it. So we weren't the first kids to ever have discovered this place. So you can kind of crawl through the hole, and then next thing you know, you're on the inside. This was probably the first time we were there. It was kind of getting late in the day, and kind of crawled through, looked around a little, didn't dare get too close to the building, to the main part of the prison itself, because I think that was the time a security car was driving around. And next thing we know, heard noises, because once you got on the other side of the gate, there was a little path there. So we heard noises, quickly ran out, through the gate, ducked under again, and hid back in the bushes. And the security car drove around, probably not suspecting anything, or if he did, probably didn't care. It wasn't like they were protecting Fort Knox. This was pretty much an abandoned place. I think we might have gone back in that time, but the first thing to discover was this like a little loading dock house. The back door we were able to get open, and as soon as you got inside, well, first of all, it was pretty dark. There was no lights, no electricity at this point, so you couldn't really see. You could see places where lights would have been, but there was this kind of what would have been a staircase that went up to the second level. So we were on the ground level, but the loading dock actually went to the second level. So right away, it was on this hill, right away it went up, and the next thing you know, you were on the second level, which is kind of cool. But like I said, the stairwell was gone. So if you got inside, you couldn't get really up. You kind of could, because what it was there still were like the little ledges, kind of the studs where the steps would have been, and then the middle railing, kind of that little jigsaw-like piece that kind of comes down, that was still there, and pipes. There were little pipes that kind of came down that probably held the electric, so the electrical conduit pipes, I guess you'd call them, they were there. So if you were daring and creative, you could actually get up to the second level that way. Although you really didn't have to, because like I said, it was on a little bit of a hill, so you could just go around, scurry up the grassy hill, and then just pop over the kind of the wall, and you're on the second level already. So getting to the second level actually was not that difficult at all. But like I said, we didn't explore too much further that time. There was a car or whatever, it was late, we just got on the bikes and left. But and now that the place was discovered, it just had to be explored. So that was the first part of discovering the prison. Was we got to figure out what's in there. There could be good stuff. What? No idea, but there could be good stuff. So we had to come back, and come back we did.